Imagine a dinosaur bigger than the T-Rex with a sail rising from its back like that of a ghost ship, a crocodile-like head, and ridiculously short hind legs. A monster that likely spent more time in the water than on land. A predator so strange that for decades, scientists didn't even know how it stood upright, or even if it could swim. This is the Spinosaurus, the most controversial dinosaur in the history of paleontology. An animal destroyed twice. First by the passage of time, 95 million years ago, and a second time by the bombs of World War II. A scientific phantom that had to be resurrected bone by bone a century later in the sands of the Moroccan desert. Hello everyone. Today we're traveling back up the Cretaceous River to unravel the mystery of this forgotten giant. Spinosaurus lived approximately 99 to 93 million years ago during the Middle Cretaceous in what is now North Africa. It was a carnivorous theropod, likely a fish eater, and was longer than any other known carnivorous dinosaur, including T-Rex and Giganotosaurus. Its discovery and subsequent rediscovery nearly a century later upended everything we thought we knew about dinosaurs and the limits of what a land-dwelling animal could become. Because Spinosaurus isn't just about size, it's about identity. Was it a river hunter, a formidable swimmer capable of diving in pursuit of its prey, or simply a giant that waited at the water's edge without ever truly venturing in? To understand why it continues to fascinate both paleontologists and the general public today, we must look back at its turbulent history, a story of war, total loss, and scientific resurrection 80 years later.
Everything begins in 1912 in the Baha'iriyah oasis of Egypt, deep in the western desert, a region almost entirely unexplored in terms of fossils at the time. A German paleontologist, Ernst Stromer von Reichenbach, leads an expedition into these hostile terrains, assisted by a team of local Egyptian diggers whose names history would barely retain, despite their essential role in the discovery. His men uncover extraordinary bones, vertebrae with oversized neural spines, a long and narrow jaw, and conical, smooth, almost straight teeth, very different from the serrated, curved teeth of other great carnivores known then, such as Allosaurus. Stromer immediately realizes he has something unique, an animal unlike anything cataloged before. In 1915, he publishes the official description and names the creature Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, literally the Egyptian spine lizard. It is a sensation in the still young world of dinosaur paleontology. But Stromer himself soon finds his life caught in the turmoil of his era. A quiet opponent of the rising Nazi regime in Germany, he refuses to retract certain public criticisms, and the price is steep. He loses support, funding, and most painfully, 2 of his sons sent to the front, one of whom never returns. Yet he persists in his research with remarkable determination, convinced he has discovered one of the largest terrestrial predators ever recorded on Earth. Ironically, it is that same war, a generation later, that will rob him of his discovery for good. One must imagine the conditions of that original expedition. Weeks spent under a crushing sun in a remote oasis accessible only by camel, without the modern dating tools or scanners we use today. Each fossil had to be painstakingly freed by hand, wrapped in plaster, then carried hundreds of kilometers to Cairo before being shipped by boat to Germany. A titanic effort made possible only thanks to the local expertise of the Egyptian diggers, whose intimate knowledge of the terrain was decisive, even though the official history of the time long highlighted Stromer's name alone.
In April 1944, as World War II ravaged Europe, a Royal Air Force bombing raid struck Munich during the night. The Bavarian Museum of Paleontology, where the original fossils of Spinosaurus were carefully preserved, along with those of other Egyptian dinosaurs described by Stromer, was directly hit and destroyed. Stromer had repeatedly begged the museum authorities to move the most precious bones to a safer location. His request was denied. In a single night, the world's only known specimen of this dinosaur vanished forever, reduced to dust and ashes beneath the rubble of the building. For nearly 60 years, Spinosaurus would exist only through Stromer's drawings, precise measurements, and written descriptions. Stromer himself died in 1952, ruined and weakened, never knowing that his discovery would one day become legendary. The dinosaur became a kind of scientific ghost. Its name was known, its silhouette vaguely imagined through a few sketches of the time, but no physical evidence remained to be studied, measured, or touched. It would take until the turn of the 2000s for this mystery to finally, slowly, begin to awaken.
The story could have ended there, reduced to a few yellowed pages in German archives. But in 2008, a young German-Moroccan paleontologist, Nizar Ibrahim, stumbled upon fossils being sold by a local fossil hunter in southeastern Morocco in the famous Kem geological beds. Intrigued by the unusual shape of some bones, he set out into the field, and against all odds, years later managed to track down the very seller who had parted with them. Through sheer patience, he eventually pinpointed the exact site from which they had come, deep in the desert. What followed resembled a true scientific investigation worthy of an adventure film. In 2014, Ibrahim and his international team published the description of a skeleton far more complete than Stromer's. Partial skull, vertebral column, pelvis, hind limbs. For the first time in a century, real bones of Spinosaurus could finally be studied, not just dusty archival sketches. The revelation was immediate and unsettling. The body proportions were far stranger than anyone had imagined. Short, stocky hind legs, a center of gravity oddly shifted forward, and dense bones like those of an animal built to sink rather than float. Then, in 2020, Ibrahim returned with another piece of the puzzle, discovered in the same Moroccan layers, an almost complete tail, tall, flat, and flexible along its length, strikingly similar to the fin of a giant newt or an eel. This discovery alone reignited a worldwide scientific debate about the true nature of this animal, once again making headlines in major international scientific journals. But this resurrection did not come with controversy. The skeleton presented in 2014 was not from a single individual. Lacking a complete specimen, Ibrahim's team had to fill in missing bones using other fragmentary fossils found in the same geological layers, and even proportions estimated from Stromer's original drawings. Some paleontologists criticized this reconstruction, calling it a possible chimera, an assemblage that might inadvertently mix bones from several different animals or even closely related species. Ibrahim defended his work, explaining that all the fossils came from an extremely restricted and consistent geological zone, and that the proportions matched Stromer's original measurements, long lost but well documented. The debate over the reliability of this reconstruction remains even today a sensitive subject among Spinosaurus specialists, illustrating how reconstructing an animal that vanished 95 million years ago from scattered fragments can sometimes be as much detective work as exact science.
To truly understand Spinosaurus, one must also know its family, for it was not alone in its kind. It belonged to a broader group called the Spinosaurids, theropods with elongated snouts, all sharing a marked taste for fish. In England, as early as 1983, an amateur collector discovered the skeleton of Baryonyx, a smaller cousin about 9 meters long, whose fossilized stomach still contained digested fish scales, direct proof of its piscivorous diet. In West Africa, in Niger, Suchomimus, discovered in the 1990s, displayed an equally elongated snout and a small ridge along its back, like a sketch of the Spinosaurus's sail. And in Brazil, Irritator, whose skull was ironically tampered with by collectors before its scientific description, completes this family portrait. All these animals share the same clues: crocodile-like jaws, conical non-serrated teeth, and nostrils set back. But among all its cousins, Spinosaurus remains by far the largest, the most extreme, and the only one to have developed such a spectacular sail and such advanced aquatic adaptations. It is, in a way, the eccentric giant of a family already specialized in fishing.
Look closely at this silhouette. The head of Spinosaurus is long, narrow, almost tubular, somewhat like that of a crocodile or a modern gharial, the Indian crocodilian with a slender snout specialized for fishing. Its teeth are conical, smooth, and slightly curved backward, perfect for piercing and holding slippery prey such as fish, rather than slicing flesh like the saw-blade serrated teeth of Tyrannosaurus. The nostrils are positioned high on the skull, set well back from the tip of a snout, which would have allowed the animal to keep breathing even while most of its head was submerged underwater. And right at the very end of the snout, scientists have identified a network of small neurovascular openings, structures also found in living crocodilians, used to detect subtle vibrations and movements in the surrounding water. In other words, Spinosaurus could likely sense a fish approaching before even seeing it, much like a crocodile lurking in the darkness of a muddy river. Its cranial anatomy tells the same story, consistently from start to finish, that of a hunter highly specialized in capturing aquatic prey, slippery, fast, and elusive.
It is impossible to speak of Spinosaurus without pausing at length on its spectacular sail. Formed by extremely elongated neural spines growing directly from the vertebrae of its back, it could reach up to 1.65 meters in height, an absolutely unique structure in the entire animal kingdom, living or extinct. For a long time, the dominant hypothesis was thermoregulatory. The sail would have acted as a biological radiator, absorbing the sun's heat in the morning and then dissipating it during the hottest hours of the day, much like in certain far older synapsids such as Dimetrodon. But this theory eventually showed its limits when faced with detailed bone analysis. A sail so thin and tall would have been fragile, energetically costly to keep irrigated continuously, and overall far less efficient compared to simpler solutions for regulating temperature. Today, most researchers lean instead toward a visual signaling function, attracting a potential mate, intimidating a rival of the same species, or allowing individuals to recognize one another from a distance, much like the peacock's fan or the imposing antlers of a deer. Some specialists even suggest a combination of several of these roles at once. What remains certain is that this sail made Spinosaurus an unmistakably unique silhouette, visible from afar above the reeds and mangroves of the African Cretaceous.
Spinosaurus reminds us of an essential truth. Dinosaurs were not all simple land-bound monsters roaming dry, dusty plains. Some conquered rivers and swamps, just as others, much later in their lineage, would conquer the skies in the form of modern birds. Destroyed by bombs, forgotten for decades in the drawers of history, then resurrected fossil by fossil from the sands of the Moroccan desert, Spinosaurus is as much a story of science as it is a profoundly human story, that of determined researchers who refuse to let a giant vanish twice. Even 95 million years later, and despite more than a century of relentless study, it continues to surprise us and divide the greatest experts. If you enjoyed this video, like it, leave a comment to share your thoughts on the great debate, swimmer versus shoreline fisher, and subscribe for more exciting dives into the world of dinosaurs. We'll meet again very soon for another prehistoric adventure. Thank you for watching.